Bolos. The concept of the bolo is very interesting to me, being that it's kind of the original multi-tool in a lot of different ways. And we were doing some perusing around some various antique and consignment shops today in Havana, Florida, and we found some very interesting pieces that I wanted to share with you today. And I wasn't intending to pick these up. Generally, these shops in the past have not had things this cool. But I think what we'll do is we'll come back and do some individual videos on these as I learn more about the pieces themselves and do research. But I wanted to go ahead and put something together to share because these are some beautiful pieces here. This one is very interesting, being that the gentleman who happened to be standing in the shop, who was not the owner of the shop, but was the owner of the knives, had a little piece of history on each one of these, and he referred to this as a horseman's knife. A horseman's knife. You can see the shape is very, very characteristic of the kukri in many ways. You can see the characteristic curvature. Now, this one in particular looks very Visayan, Filipino. Bolo, of course, is a Filipino concept, being that it is kind of a machete, a combat weapon, a clearer, a brush, which I guess is a machete, and a digging tool. I mean, just multiple contexts that the bolo serves. And there's a lot of rich history there and all of those hundreds of islands, and I'm not the one to tell you about it, but I can tell you that there is a lot to learn, a lot of nuances and details. But this one, again, the owner, previous owner, referred to this as a horseman's knife, and he said that this was forged by a blacksmith, and he did not know the origin, but this is the sheath, and he said this was meant, this little wedge here was meant to go into the cutout of a leather saddle, and then a pin would be pressed through to retain it in the leather saddle. And the horseman could either, keep it on his left or his right accordingly, depending on how he carried it. But it looks very much like what they refer to as a gulak, or there's so many names, so much history. I'm not even going to begin to try to flush it out for you, but it looks very Southern Filipino. And then you have this beauty here, which really is a thing to be marveled. This is the USMC Corman Bolo. And again, we're going to come back and do a video just on this once I get some information. But look at that. It's just beautiful. It says Chatillon, New York. Some of them that I've seen on pictures of said blacksmith made. It is a gargantuan beast of a knife. I mean, this is a chongus. Look how thick that is. And just the weight on this is off the chain. The condition is amazing. I don't feel any pitting. This has obviously been somewhat worked and restored, but the etching is very, very distinguishable there. You can, of course, see the way in this bolo it has that very characteristic edge all the way around that wraps around to the back spine there. So that is very characteristic of the Filipino style blade, where you would have the edge, full edge on your, of course, main side, and then a partial edge on your spine. These are my ginantings, so obviously those are very particular and obvious Filipino styles. These two in particular are from Prado blades. This is the longer. This is the ginanting sword here, and this right here is the ginanting knife that I wanted to show as characteristic Filipino blades. But these two, very interesting. I don't know what wood this is. It looks like these are actually nails. It's been nailed together, and then there's some glue there. And then there's a very rich history with this particular one, being that some of the research, very brief, that I've done seems to indicate that this was medical knife. Some people seem to think that it was used in amputations. I do not know, but I do think this is a very cool addition to the knife collection. After all, we've been collecting blades longer than we've been collecting the pew-pews. Here's the sheath. It's in very decent condition, all leather. This appears to be brass, and it does have that old, I don't know what they call that, the old World War II era GI webbing belt style. This, of course, is a World War II era bolo, and a great addition to, my very minimalistic World War II era knife set, being that I have this here RH-36 Remington hunting knife, which was also an infamous knife used in the World War II era. So, Bolos, just a quick little video here to share some amazing knives. Of course, this, again, is considered a bit of a multi-tool. It could be used for combat, if you will. It could be used as a machete, clearing brush. It's used as a shovel. Very thick there, chopper, chopping down wood. Very interesting blade indeed, and a really amazing addition to the collection. Now, this was marked at $450 from the gentleman that had it on consignment, so he had his information there, and I went ahead and called him up and said, hey dude, is this firm? Can I make an offer? And I was able to pay significantly less than the $450, significantly less. And this guy right here is marked $79, and I think I ended up paying like $20 for this one cash, which I had on me. He said he would prefer not to give the federal government any extra money, and I appreciated the sentiment. So I pulled a hundo out of the wallet and made quick work of it. Instant transaction, and we added a couple of bolos to the collection. So really amazing blades, and very functional, being that, of course, training in Filipino martial arts, it's a fitting addition to the system of knives, and will be a wonderful thing, heirloom, to leave to my daughter one day. And that is my initial impression of some cool new bolos acquired today. Peace.